Well. Finally, finally, ICT's come back to ICT's Twitter Spaces. They were trying to keep me from signing on with you fine folks tonight. This is the third time. The third fucking time, man. It takes three times. They don't want me talking to you. They don't want me tickling your ears with all this goodness. ICT goodness. Anyway, what the hell is going on in the markets? That is amazing. That's amazing volatility today. And let me just tell you, I mentioned earlier in the year, I said that we would see some pretty insane volatility. And when you look at a daily chart of even the S&P, you really can't appreciate how much insanity took place today. Okay. 30 years, folks. 30 years I've been doing this, and I have never seen such monstrous volatility. Now, I would be lying to you if I said I'm not trying to cowboy up in this environment, because I am absolutely, I'm absolutely fighting that urge. Like today, I was trying to do things that would otherwise be frowned upon by me as a mentor. Obviously, I'm kind of glad in a lot of ways that I wasn't able to pull it off, because if I would have done it and pulled down a pretty big win, it would have probably inspired some of you young guys in here to try to do something like that too. And that would be the worst thing I could have done. So just know that because I felt those impulses, and don't worry, I'm going to send a screenshot and short little recording. You can see I didn't do any other additional trades. There's people in the interwebs saying that I hid the rest of my trading day and I probably blew out. You guys never end. You just keep doing stupid stuff. But anyway, I didn't do anything more than the 28.75 that you saw today. And I'm so thankful, and I mentioned this in the short little vignette I did. I'm so thankful that the Lord allowed me to get out, because what you don't know is I was sitting with Caleb and I explained to him, I said, listen, I'm going to go long here and I want to see these buy stops taken out. And I had my limit order at 45 and a quarter initially. And something was nudging on me saying, just just wait, bring it down, take about $1,000 out of it, actually try to get out before the highs taken out that I was showing you, and then to see if you can nail the short. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. But this time I rolled the limit back up, and I literally just just by a little bit went below the previous time. So I was below 45. I don't think I would have gotten out. Now, I don't think personally that I would have been able to hold on to the point where it was too late, because it did give me a few, a minute or so before it just did a monstrous, gap where there was a real liquidity void where I showed you today. But that would have been painful, not that much money. I mean, money's money, but it would have been a bruise to my ego because my son was sitting next to me, and I was literally telling him, watch, this is what's going to happen. It's going to go up here. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to sell short, and I'm going to write it down to the 35.70 I talked about on Monday. Okay, so that was our objective for the week. That was what we were looking for, and it hit it and went through it a lot, and that's fine. So again, we had the bias right for the week. We had the draw on liquidity. We wanted that lower low on the daily. It ripped its throat out, shook it until there was nothing left in terms of life. The fair value gap that I showed you on the weekly chart was just brilliant in terms of offering a discount array. Now, which brings me to the $1,000,000 question, which is what everybody wants to know. Is this the bottom? Is this the low ICT? I don't personally believe so. Now, the reason why is because we had relative equal lows on the daily chart. those relative equal lows needed to be taken out. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to run through them and just keep on going lower. See, these are perfect little traps. These are opportunities for these market makers that are sitting in here right now that are absolutely in there manually intervening, because there's lots of money right now. Lots of money for the taking. Emotions are high. Gamblers are literally hopped up on goofballs because they see all this movement. They're in there trading 60, 70 times, chasing every single fluctuation, thinking that they're going to catch something like what we saw today. A breakneck volatility romance. Simply going after balls to the wall, all in Texas Hold'em style. Just that, I'm telling you, we are going to see more traders lose their ass this fall, going into the close of this year, than probably historically we've ever seen. Now, your friends and family that you know are trading, they're going to hide that from you. They'll charge their credit card up and reboot their trading account. But behind the scenes, you're not going to know that they are waxing themselves. And it's unfortunate. So today, I felt that that was a gentle little reminder. ICT, yes, you know a little bit more than the average bear, but this type of volatility, this is all new territory to me. Like, I feel like I'm riding along with Shatner on the Enterprise, voyaging into the unknown. Okay, we're doing things that we've never done before. And anybody that's out there saying, "Oh, we've done this before," he's talking out his ass again. No, we've never seen these types of moves before. We've never seen this volatility before. And while it's extremely exciting, and I am fighting my ego wants to get out here and do Olympic style trading and just literally shut everybody down and just say, look, this is the way it is. Okay, there's nobody going to keep up with me. Today was just a little bit of a reminder saying, you know what? You might be good, cowboy, but you keep fucking around and you're going to get the bull's horns right up your ass. And that's kind of like what I went with the rest of the day. I was like, okay, this is a day where I know myself. My younger self was trying to show himself because my son was there. And I wish I was recording just the expression on my son's face when he watched the limit order get filled. And we turned each other, bumped fists. I was like, yeah, now watch this. This is going to collapse. I'm going to go in here and go short. And then gone. Elvis left the building. Like, it was like gone. Go, go, go. It was history. I mean, we watched it tick down. Like, okay, I'm changing that little box in the upper left-hand corner from 4 to a 2. It's it. It's gone. It's gone. It is left. And there's no way I could chase that. And then that short little pause, and all of a sudden, boom, like 40 some handles, was like 41 handles, it gapped intraday. Welcome to understanding what a real liquidity void is, price action traders. How'd that grab you? Pretty exciting, isn't it? Well, I was hoping, because if it would have came back up into what I was showing you today, I would have went in with 8 contracts. Now, you might think to yourself, 8 contracts, that's not that big of a deal, ICT, but 8 contracts with a potential of maybe 100 handles, that's pretty respectable. That's pretty respectable. And I was trying, but it just simply wouldn't give it to me. And soon as it just kept breaking more and more and more lower aggressively, and I was like, okay, I have to be done. Because if I stay with this today, I'm going to do probably more than I should have. And I don't want to do that. And my mind is racing, saying, you can beat the shit out of this, ICT. You know you can do this. You know you can. Just because it's moving a whole lot more historically, never been done before. It's never been here. It's never done these types of volatility moves ever, ever. Larry Williams, never seen this in his life. He's been trading longer than me. And I'm sure he's scratching his ass thinking, what the hell is going on? Why is this happening? Right, exactly. It's fun. Isn't it interesting seeing everybody that's supposed to be in the industry? They're always putting up their explanations as to why things take place after it happens. But remember, on Monday morning, we were looking for 3570. We were looking for it. And I was telling you also, I don't give a shit who you know, who says what. How many times you seen them be right before? If they said we're not going lower, they're full of grade A bullshit. We're taking out 3570. Well, Santa came through again, and 3570 was delivered, but it came with extras this year. Okay, it came with a whole lot more and went all the way down to the weekly fair value gap, which essentially is the main draw on that 3400. And you're probably looking at that today and thinking, wait a minute, it's not even at 3400. Well, 3400 is a big figure. And I still think that is in contention for the next wave lower if we can sell off. Now, tomorrow we have two economic drivers. We have 8:30 in the morning and we have 10 o'clock in the morning. So it's Friday. I'm not holding out for any one particular direction over the other. We did a lot of movement today. I personally am done. Like, I'm not trying to do anything else. I'm at 34,000 for the month. I'm not trying to do anything more, and I've not taken a great deal of size on any of the positions. So the largest position I had on was, I believe it was 12 contracts. Well, it's not even an entire month. It's only what, the 13th. So you take the weekends out of that. It's not been much at all. So we are in that territory I mentioned that we would be seeing crazy volatility, and we are off the charts. And it's exciting to be seeing it. I'm glad to be alive during this time and being able to participate in it. But now, since I got a taste of it today, yeah, the 25, 30 contracts pyramiding up, that type of thing, I just don't have it in me, folks. I got to be honest with you. These markets are moving at a pace that are admittedly very intimidating, even for me. Like, I know if I make one error, one misjudgment, one in these types of moves, man, no, I just can't allow that. I can't allow myself to go through that. So I have to lean back on the tools and rules that I give you and trusting that it'll serve me well. And then, I'll be fine by the end of the year. I'll obviously be fine and I'll get my roses and such. But the point is, this volatility can sweet talk you, serenade you like a siren. Okay. These mythical creatures that inhabit the rocks, the jagged rocks out in the sea, they were written about many times in folklore and books. They're supposed to be beautiful, and they serenade to you. They look lovely, and sailors will try to sail their vessels closer to them to get to them, and then they crash their ship on the rocks and sink and drown. That's what this volatility is acting like. Okay. And I fell very close to being a victim today to that. I wanted to do more. Like, I wanted to do it. I said, no, 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 no. I know what everybody else is doing right now. They're all trying to be a part of the next little move in here that's going to be the next big 30, 50 handle move. And I was like, nope, I dodged a bullet today. So, yeah, I don't need to feel, a 50 caliber between the eyes to know that I shouldn't have done it. So all kinds of bad experiences when I was 20 years old came flooding back. And I told my son, I said, I'm going to sit still. I'm literally turning the charts off. I'm walking away, and I just chilled out. I watched YouTube videos. I did some reading, took a nap, which I didn't need, but I had to do whatever I could to stay away from the charts because I know Mr. Hyde in me. because you're listening to Dr. Jekyll on YouTube. Here, you get a little taste of Mr. Hyde, where I'm off the rails. There's no filter. There's no editing. There's no retracting the bipolarism, the swings. And I have been feeling that for weeks. And just to cut in real quick, the jerk that put a list pendants against the property, who was trying to shake us down for money. I told the seller 2 nights ago, I said, listen, I'm going to be real honest with you. I'm not waiting 2 years. So my suggestion is to you, go in with the difference between our offers. I offered him $1,975,000 for his house. He listed it for 19999, and the other offer that was coming in but was invalid because it had all kinds of, the date was wrong. They had requested certain parts of their furniture, and I don't know if this matters, but I want you to understand my mindset going into this week. I told the seller, I said, listen, sell the house to me, but pay the guy off with the difference between our offers. Because I don't think he wants the house, because I don't think he can afford the house. Personally, that's what I think. But he was working on this property to wait until somebody came on the contract. And then he falsely said that, I had a deal, knowing full well someone was trying to do $2 million in property. They don't want to wait around this environment because they know that property values. As the buyer, I want to get it now. As the seller, he's thinking, I got to get it while the market's hot because I don't want to see it drop down in valuation. So he went out and asked him through his lawyer, said, what do you want? Do you want to buy the house? He goes, no, give me $48,200, which was a weird number. And I did some research, found out he has $30,000 on another property, and his lawyer fees is $12,000, and the $200 is the fee that they use to put the list pendants in. So the lawyer made $12,000, and he's getting $30,000, which is his deposit he put down on another property. So yeah, I can do my own sleuth work too. But he countered and said, no, I'm going to give you $30,000. And they said, no, fuck you. That was exactly what he told his lawyer. He said, fuck you. It's okay. 35,000 or fuck you. We'll see you in court. We're going to lose the sale on Monday to the Huddlestons, and that brings me damages, and you're fucked. We go to court, you're fucked because you falsely clouded the title. And they said, we'll take it. So Friday, their lawyer, sleazebag, Saul, is doing up the paperwork to release the property and clear the list pendants, and then I will be handing over the difference between my $100,000 good faith deposit, and I'll have the keys, and I guess I'll walk through it next weekend with you, let you see it. It's not going to be furnished yet because I have furniture, certain rooms I haven't picked out yet. But anyway, that's the point. Because of all that bullshit, I have been swinging from maniac to just really borderline depressed because my wife is upset about this. Now imagine I have to trade decisions around making money or talk to all of you fine folks. And you know how I am. I'm wired a little differently. So I have had to pull myself back. And you saw a couple of days ago, I was ready to take everybody on in YouTube. That's what happens with me. Okay, I'm bipolar. I don't hide it, and it's it is what it is. But I'm just happy to have all that shit done. And come Friday, I'm pretty certain I'll be more balanced than I've been in at least the last 2 months. But that was also on my mind today too. I was like, because I can't throttle this guy, I wanted to do that in the marketplace. Like I wanted to put a major whoop ass on the S&P today. And yes, I was going to peacock all over social media. In fact, you probably would have had a cameo where I would have been twerking. Imagine that, twerking ICT, right? That was what I went into with it this morning. And as soon as I got that little nudge, like, no, don't do that. And here, I'm going to spare you because you're probably going to hurt yourself today. I said, you know what? I'm going to take that as a little bit of grace and say, this is not the right thing for me to do. And I know what's motivating it because I'm angry inside that I've had to wait now, obviously, a week longer. But this buying experience has caused me a great deal of Anger, rage, like pent up hostility because this piece of shit is garbage. He's trash. 68, lawsuits against him, and I'm convinced they do this. This is what they're all about. Like they're trash, and being so local, I don't want to see this motherfucker in public because he's gonna find out that this kind of shit, this kind of fucking shit, doesn't make friends. And you read between the fucking lines on that one, but it worked out in my favor. My wife's happy. I'm happy. The sellers are happy because they're old. This is an older couple, very nice people, and the guy's health's failing him. 74 years old, and they don't need all this kind of fucking drama. Nobody does. So I told him, I said I was going to step away from the property, and if these other people want to buy it, so be it. To me, I think that will be, if I got to submit to that God's will, and there it is. It wasn't meant for me to have it, but when I said that, that was like that little nudge for them to say, well, we're gonna do what you said. We're gonna offer them a buyout, and they did it for less than I even encouraged them to do it. So they took it for 35 instead of 50. Because if they were going to sell it to that buyer, they would have sold it for 1,925,000. So what's the difference if they give them the 50,000 difference between my offer and that offer, and I get to buy the house? It's the same outcome. They get to move on with the rest of their few years of their life, doing whatever they want to do. I get the property, and now the piece of shit's gone. So it is what it is. But I'm so relieved. Like I'm relieved, but I didn't want to be talking to you or doing very much at all because nothing was going to come out where I would have been satisfied. Like I would have been all over the place, and it would have been mostly bitching and wanting to talk about things that wouldn't really benefit or edify anyone. But because I'm a realist and I don't sugarcoat anything, I'm being honest and telling you that's what I've been contending with. And it's a real world thing like anybody else, and you're going to have stresses in your life. And having lots of money doesn't remove stress. It doesn't remove these types of things. And I don't have a way of shielding myself from things that would jerk me out of gear. And once I'm out of gear, it's just time. Like once the chemicals in me wear down and they burn off, that's the only thing that settles me down. Like my wife can't calm me down. Nobody can talk to me out of it. Like if someone tries to talk, like this is why I tell you all, this is a weakness in my personality and my makeup where I lose control of myself and my faculties and focus. So if I'm going to be risking money in that, is that someone that's making sound decisions? Absolutely not. And that's what I fell victim to as a 20-year-old. I would get angry at the market. I would get angry at the book, the author, whatever the fuck it was going on in my head. If I stumped my toe, anything that would have been an excuse for me to say that shit was the reason why. Where it's me, it's me that's not able to focus. And that's what I felt today. I felt like I wanted to exact revenge. Poor little S&P ain't done shit to ICT. It's been nice to me all year long. And here I am trying to victimize this son of a bitch. He didn't do anything to me. Didn't do nothing to me. And I'm sitting here trying to rough him up, pull roughshod on him. So I took a little bit of flesh off of him today and I let him go. So that was the inner dialogue, if you will, of what my morning was like. And the only way I could protect myself was simply just turn the charts off. Because in my mind, I had every montage scenario going through. I was going to do some serious shit today. But thankfully, it ran off without me. And because it probably would have handed me my ass. Okay. And that's the real thing. Okay, that's the real talk. most most gurus, mentors, wannabe traders and YouTubers or whatever, they're not going to talk like that. Okay. And that's why I push that guy Corbs. I like what he does. I like what he does because he shares his emotion. He shares his struggles. He does not hide the things he's having an issue with. And that is very refreshing. And I hope you understand that that's why I'm pushing him on you. And I like to see his channel grow because I think there's an audience for that. Now, notice that when he was doing his live streaming, it was very difficult for him to find consistency. And you probably watched him go off the rails, and which was kind of entertaining because it made me feel like I was looking at a visual of how I am sometimes in my head. But, losing his shit, throwing pens and glasses and shit flying around, that's entertainment. And that's exactly probably, what you all would expect from me. But most of my trading is nothing like that. But today, if I would have been live being watched and was able to engage, like, you probably would have seen some fucking crazy shit today because I came in wanting, I wanted a war. Like, I wanted it. And I believe I was spared. So I took that again as grace, and I said, I'm bowing out. I'm not going to do anything the rest of the day. But Corpse, he comes across as a very honest guy. He's not out there trying to sell himself, as Mr. Prophet, Mr. I know everything. He shows on his screen where he gets in, gets out. And if you look at it, and Corbs, if you're listening, this is not a knock against you. There's nothing fantastic about his entries. Like, you could probably look at what I've been teaching and you're like, why is he doing that? But you can make money outside of my stuff. Like, my things are not the only way people can make money. My things, in my opinion, make it a little bit easier in terms of clarity and understanding why you're doing something and why the market should be doing it. But he's honest. He shows you where he did something wrong. You can see where his trades didn't work out. I think he overtrades a little bit. That's my personal opinion, but that's outside the scope of the conversation. But I like the last two conversations he had in his videos, today and yesterday's video, where he talked about his inability to, when he's in drawdown, when he takes another trade and it's profitable, and he knows in his gut he should, like, I should take something and lock that in, and or take something off of it and pay myself. But because the pain and the pressure of ego as a male, and I'm not saying he's egotistical, but I know as a man, as a male, and ladies, you probably can't understand this. I mean, in fact, I know you don't understand it because I live with a wife that just simply just doesn't understand it. It's a fucking video game, Michael. What are you making a big deal about it for? I said, look around. Look how you live, woman. Look how you live. And you call that a video game? Come on now. So he knows that if he does take a loss, like anybody else, and I've experienced this too. I'm not talking like I don't have this experience. Everybody that's ever traded has had this experience. But when you have a period of drawdown, or if you get into a trade or two and you're in drawdown on a day, the first impulse is, motherfucker, I want my money back and I'm coming with interest, bitch. You better give me my motherfucking money. Where the fuck is my money? Where is my shit? Where is it at right now? Give it to me. It's already late. Give it to me now. That's what you want. That's the mindset. And then all of a sudden you get into trades, and say you're down $500, say you're down $750, some $800, okay? And you get into another trade, you're pissed off, you can't find your groove, but it just how happens that you're in now a trade and you're up $400. And you're thinking, all I gotta do is see another one of those and I'm even. And if it gets to that, I'll just see if it wants to give me a little bit more because I need to cover commissions and I gotta come home with something. First of all, you don't need to go home with anything. You got to leave with your ass. You can't go into the marketplace and leave your ass out there. You can't do that. So this is why I teach how to mitigate losing streaks, how to take drawdown and bring it back realistically. That means you're not trying to get everything back in one clip. Now, there has been times where I've done that, revenge style, okay? But it's never served me well as a method of doing it again and again and again. I learned the hard way that if I lose 1,000 and I get into another trade with half the leverage and I'm up $500, I'm done. I'm closing that trade. Now what that does, it frees me up to go back to the original amount of leverage that I took on the previous trade that was a losing trade. So put it in perspective. Okay, say I was risking 1% and I lost 1%. Whatever that dollar amount is for 1% of the equity, the next trade rather that I take, I'm taking it with 1/2 of 1% risk. But if I make half of that previous losing trade back, as soon as my trade gets to that point, I'm killing it. I don't give a flying fuck how much it might keep going. I don't care because I have to reset myself mentally. And maybe you think that you're better than me mentally. Maybe you think you're more dialed in. Maybe you think you're the person that's going to be doing everything better than everybody else and you're perfect. Okay. Believe me, you're 20 years old. You probably think that. I did the same thing. And I'm telling you right now, you don't fucking know anything. You have no idea. You haven't been around here yet long enough. You're going to find out just like I found out. I fucked around and I found out that I wasn't the shit that I thought I was when I was 20. I am today. I ain't going to lie to you. Okay. I am today. It is what it is. But here's the deal. When you get that opportunity to get half of the losing trades that you just took your ass out there and got whacked upside your head, as soon as you get half of that losing trade back and you're doing it with half the leverage, you close that trade and you don't give a fuck what anybody else is going to say about it. First of all, you shouldn't be telling anybody about it. Two, you tell yourself, good job. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do that. Not, oh, I'm going to hold and push my edge. My edge says I should do this. Fuck your edge. Fuck your edge. Gentlemen, listen. When you get that brand new razor, Gillette, you bought that fucking razor just like I did. Okay? There's commercials, they make it seem like it's the greatest fucking thing in the world. Your wife's gonna come around the corner. She looks like a fucking celebrity model. You know, everybody's chiseled out fucking face. Everybody's looking perfect. And because you want that razor. And that razor gets on your skin the very first time and it cuts through your beard and your stubble like a fucking knife through butter. Just beautiful. Just takes it right on off, right? Okay. Keep using that same motherfucking razor 6 months. What's it going to do? It's going to tear your ass up. It's going to tear your ass up. I don't give a shit how much lubricant, how much shit you lather all over your face. That razor, you keep pushing it, it's going to lose its edge. It's going to tear your face up. Okay. Well, you're in that same scenario. You just took a loss. Now you're forced to drop down your leverage. Half the leverage you took on your previous trade, it was a losing trade. But now you got the opportunity to get half of your ass back. And you did it with half the leverage. That's phenomenal. Now, it's not phenomenal for the SMC guys out there, the 200 to 1 fucking traders that do it every single fucking week, but they're still trading with 0.01 leverage on their fucking trades on their MT4 screenshots. It's not good enough for them. I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to really real traders, the people that are here to learn how to make money and conduct themselves like professionals in the marketplace. You have to work within statistical probabilities, and the probabilities of you being dialed in after a losing trade, especially if you're new, next to zero. And that's a normal thing. So how do you combat that? You got to reduce your risk. As soon as you get half of that losing trade back in equity in the trade that you're now in after that losing trade. So now 1% you took as a loss. Now you're going to take another trade, not right away. When your system, when your pattern, when your model says so, time and price has to still agree. It's got to make fucking sense. You just can't just pull one out of your ass and say, well, I don't feel good. This hurt. And I need to get this back right away because my friends on social media are going to be meeting together in my Discord channel. And they're all going to ask me what the fuck I did today. And I cannot talk about this losing trade because guess what? I'm going to lose my man card. You see how silly it is when you get in these little groups, these cliques? Fuck that shit. These guys sit around like a bunch of nerds, okay? Like they're trading Pokemon fucking cards. This is money. We're talking about money. I'm not here for friends. I don't give a fuck if you like my trades. I don't care if you love my trades. I'm here to make money. I'm here to teach you how I make money. If you don't like that, then go somewhere else. Play fucking Pokemon in Discord. I don't give a shit. But here, if you're trading with a losing trade, the next trade, you're half the leverage. Make half that losing trade that you took 1% loss on, make that back. As soon as you do that, that's a reset. Now you can go back to trading with 1% risk again. But wait a minute, Michael, I'm in drawdown still a 0.5%. Right. Yep. That's what I do. That's what I do. Now, what happens if you lose again? You drop your risk in half again, and you trade until you get half of that losing trade back. And then you close the trade. That frees you up to go back to what? 1% or a half a percent. Once you get down to a quarter percent, there's really nothing, in my opinion, it's worth taking. But what that does, it causes your drawdowns to be less and less and less, and it allows you to reset emotionally and psychologically because it takes the sting away. If you're wrong, if you're impulsive, if you rush back in to try to do something, it is a fail switch to keep you from blowing the fuck out. Because you will, if you don't do these things, you will, if you just go in there and say, okay, I don't care, and you get that gambler numbness. Anybody that's ever played cards or went to a casino, you're up, you made money, you've had an experience like that. You go home, they send you comps. Come on back. We love you. You took money from us. We love you as a customer. Come back here and stay in one of our really luxurious suites and fuck, we'll give you a steak dinner and here's 2 tickets to a show. Come on back. Have the whole weekend to yourself because you are a customer that we love. And your dumbass believes that. So you fly out there, you go out there, and then you lose everything you fucking won the last time and then more. What happened? You're sitting at the table. You know damn well you shouldn't have came back out there. 2, you shouldn't have stayed as long as you did. And you knew right when you should have stopped, but you don't. And you lose. And you lose again. And then you lose again. And all of a sudden you think to yourself, well, fuck it. You know, I got $1,000 still in chips here. I'm just going to play until I fucking lose. I don't care. That's gambler numbness. That's what trading sometimes does or occurs to people that just cannot stay focused. And what happens is you're just waiting for that chance turnaround. And when it does, few and far between, there's an instance where that occurs. But when it happens, what that does is it gives you that little bit of dopamine. Boom. All of a sudden, oh shit. Look at it, ladies. Holy shit. Look who just stepped in. It's Money Man. It's Mr. Maven. It's fucking Mr. Market Maker, ICTs. Nobody compared to you now. You got it all figured out because that chemical imbalances kicks in, and everybody has this. You don't have to be bipolar to experience this. That feeling of I'm on now. I'm on. But it doesn't happen. But if it does happen, that's when you start betting bigger because you think you've turned the tide. And now the gods of the odds have now shined their light on you and given you their favor. And the only thing they've given you is a shift in your perspective. Because see, what you think is good is just really their boot going up your ass. You have no idea what's about to happen to you. And then boom, your $1,000 is gone. And on the flight home from the casino, and you've lost more than you brought because you couldn't take that. You had to go and get more money out of your ATM and more money out of your ATM. Because hey, it's still Saturday night and you got another night to sleep up there for free, right? And you fly home with less money than you had before you went out there and won by luck. See, all these things, these take place all the time, every single day. And it took place a lot, I guarantee you, in so many people's minds today. If they have somehow dodged that big drop in the morning, they were in there playing around. They were in there trying to do something they're not equipped to do. And they can't manage themselves. They can't manage their emotions. They can't manage their psychology. And I know enough about myself to know that I would have done more than I should have today. And it probably wouldn't have been as good as I would have wanted it to be because I went in with the wrong expectations. I'm going to come in there, Mr. Market Maven. And that volatility today said, sit the fuck down, boy. You ain't ready. You ain't ready for this. Sit down. Just shut your fucking mouth. You just sit right there and you just watch and be thankful you're not in here. And guess what? I knew better. I turned the charts off. I walked away from that. And I came back later on and I saw that it had completely went right back up, closed in the gap, the liquidity void, used as support, as I mentioned, and then vaulted above the high and then just kept digging in, digging in, digging in higher. So to me, I think that anyone listening to what Corbs shares with his, I know he's been trading for a while. I think he's mentioned he's been doing it for a few years, but I think he's really at a stage where he's really now taking it serious in terms of his development. Because I asked him, I said, what's your goal? And he wants to be a 7-figure trader. And the things he's enduring right now are many times the barrier that prevents that very thing. And most people can't get through it. They can't press through it. And what I talked about in this Twitter space here in terms of managing your risk, dropping it down and make half of the previous loss back, then reset to what the previous loss leverage was. That gives you that little bit of a cookie, which is what we need. Okay. As humans, we need that little reward, that little nudge that we're doing it right, that cookie, that attaboy, that pat on the shoulder. Okay. And like in karate and martial arts, okay, all these fucking belt colors and shit. Why? Because they got to keep you paying. They got to keep you feeling like you're rewarded. Okay. And most real martial arts didn't have all that shit. That's an Americanized thing. They bastardized the entire martial arts by having these belt systems. And in trading, you have to have that Miyagi experience. Okay. You have to have that where you're working your ass off, you're out there, you're sanding the fence and you're painting the fence, you're waxing the cars, ICT's talking to you and putting you through all this bullshit discussions. This doesn't mean anything to me. Tell me how to buy and sell. Tell me when to get in, when to get out. How the fuck do I know how to do this? You're talking all this bullshit. You're talking about a house I can't live in. What the fuck's this got to do with anything? It has everything to do with it. See, you don't think you're learning anything right now, but when you put yourself in that situation, now because I'm talking to you like this, you're going to say, you know what? This is exactly like that motherfucker said. That old motherfucker, 50 years old, had a clue. He did know what he was talking about. He knew exactly what he's talking about because I'm feeling that shit right now. I feel like I need to get out there and break somebody's fucking head in this market because I have something to prove. I got a chip on my shoulder. I have, a reason to be violent in these marketplaces. And bringing violence to the market, well, you're just asking for your ass to get beat because believe me, the gang in the market is always going to outnumber you. It's always going to outnumber you when you go in like a vigilante. If you go in there with that vigilante mindset, you're going to be the Punisher. No, you're going to go home in a fucking ambulance. Okay, that's the way it's going to happen. You're going to lose your ass going in there like that because you're trying to do something with an outcome in mind that's not guaranteed. And you're blinded by your rage or your fit. Okay, you're all pent up like I was. I have been. You see how quiet I've been recently on Twitter? Like somebody the other day said, your music selection. What the fuck's going on with this? I played that beautiful song that it's a female artist, and it's a very moving song to me. I loved it, and I was in my feels that day. I was thinking to myself, what if I don't get this house? What if I don't get this house? Number one, my wife's going to be upset because she loves this house. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the house. I think it's a beautiful home. It's, you know, there's certain things I wanted, and there isn't that in this property. But my wife, when we went through it, she was like, Michael, please, please, can I have this? I was like, ugh, guys, what do you do in that situation? You can't win that. You can't fucking win that. So I was like, okay, well, let's see if, we can work it out. So I offered them 1.8 million. Of course, they rejected that. And I came up to 1925, which is what they allowed for the other offer, but didn't give them a contract. Like they didn't sign a contract, but they were going to accept his 1925 if they provided a contract or an offer, written offer, but they didn't do it. But I came in with 1975 because I asked them, I said, listen, I'm all cash, no contingencies. Like I will buy this house, no waiting. Like I own real estate. I don't need to sell shit. I'm buying outright. You tell me what your lowest that you're taking right now, and nobody else can take any of your attention away. Like I'm going to be the one. They said 1975, and the house will be yours. So I said, okay. And in an hour, we had the offer in their hands, and they signed it. Okay. And then this asshole comes and does all that. So since like the first week of September, I have been very difficult to be around in my personal life. I've been very, very hard to deal with personally if you were around me. I've been very short. My wife has been careful to be around me. My children have been very careful around me. And I have not had any kind of real interactions with anyone else. And that kind of mindset, partially, partially is what motivated me to do what you've seen recently, where you saw me doing like $13,000 trades, $12,000, $10,000 trades. That was me in there doing a little bit more than I usually do, because obviously I've been teaching you to do these models that are, try to get 5 handles and be fine. You're all asking like, can you just show the model? Can you do that? I just feel like I got to do more, and that's why I was doing that. But today I was really going in there with kind of like a gladiator mindset, and because I'm imbalanced over all the bullshit, I wanted to release. Okay, I wanted to release. I wanted to be able to discharge. I haven't been able to talk to anybody because it would have been, it wouldn't have been as therapeutic as this one feels for me. And I understand some of you that haven't been trading long enough. None of this probably makes any sense to you. And maybe they've probably turned the Twitter space off. But I promise you, okay, Mark Douglas doesn't touch anything like this in his book. Okay. It's not a popular way of discussing human frailty. And I'm a human, and I have a lot of frailty because I'm imbalanced. And I feel, well, I can feel elated 1 second, and then I can feel rage within 30 seconds. And sometimes I can feel myself swinging chemically back and forth, all within a 5-minute period. And that volatile state of mind where I wish I could articulate what that feels like. It's a miserable experience. And that's what my life has been. Like I have lived with this, and it's very, very hard to deal with. And sometimes I foolishly went into the marketplace in my manic episodes. And sometimes I've gone into the marketplace trading where I was euphoric. And both of those times I have had dismal results because I'm reacting to the stimuli of being in that market experience. Whereas if I am trying to, like, that's why I meditate. Okay. I meditate, I exercise, I lift weights, I do stretching, I do all those things because if you look at the schedule I tweeted and the things I do and how I eat and all that stuff, I have to adhere to that schedule. If I don't adhere to that schedule, I cannot do well in the marketplace because if I'm in a trade, I'm going to think about how I did not do this part of my routine. Something took me out of my routine. And because that happens, many times that'll be the reason or catalyst for me not to take any trades in the morning session or in the afternoon session. Not because I don't see a trade, not because my methods don't have something that would give me something to work with. Okay. I could sit down in front of any market day, and do something. Like, for instance, Wednesday, that was a range bound day. I sat there and I literally, in a demo, I didn't do anything with live. I didn't do anything with my live account, nothing. But in a demo, I ran up $17,000 on a demo just using 4 contracts, banging around inside that range. And I had 2 trades that stopped out where it was like, just a little bit above what would be, I guess, commission costs. But that's it. Now I know I can do these things, but here's the thing. As nimble as you see me doing what I show you, on days when I can't control myself, the man part of me, the physical person of me, not the trader ICT, the Michael, the imbalanced Michael, okay? The guy that I have to be very careful with, because if I let this motherfucker do what he wants to do, I'm going to wreck myself and ruin my entire livelihood. Everything would be ruined, because a day like today would cause me to do something that I would punish myself. I would punish myself for years, knowing damn well I should have never done it. But I started the day with that in mind. And with grace, I saw that, you know what? Yeah, it's enough. I don't need another reminder. Thank you, Lord. I'm done. I know because of experience. When I tell you, somebody asked me today, do you think I should put a short order in at 35.70 if it comes back up to that? I said, no, I wouldn't touch it today. Because immediately when I looked at that tweet, my mindset was, okay, they're asking me that. And please, if you're the person that tweeted this, what I'm about to say, don't take this personal. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be anything. I'm just being honest. When I read that tweet, I said, okay, I'm going in. I'm looking for a fair value gap. I'm going to buy a pullback towards 35.70. I'm going to go in. I'm going to go long. But I didn't have the charts open. I just saw the tweet. I said, no, I wouldn't touch it. Wait till tomorrow. I was telling the person to don't do anything, but really what I was doing was telling Michael, stay the fuck out of this. Stay the fuck out of there. Don't do nothing with this. That's why I had to walk away, because it was almost like, okay, someone said this, so therefore I'm going to go and I'm going to do the opposite. And when I was a younger man and we were on America Online, we had message boards, which was, obviously like the social media, Twitter space, type thing back then. And whenever I would see other people's opinion, because let's be honest, everybody out there pretty much doesn't know shit about trading. And just look at today as an example. Like they're all trying to figure out what's going on. We all were expecting the daily low to be taken out. We wanted 35.70. Okay. We knew that was coming. Well, everyone that was listening in our community, we were expecting that. We were not trying to buy anything. We didn't look for any kind of reversal type thing prior to 35.70. 35.70, that's where it's going to draw to. We got that today. You also know, before the big drops, to take out that objective, chances are it's going to do what? It's going to go for liquidity. What kind of liquidity? If 35.70 is below the market, that means we're going to take out buy side first. Well, I showed you what I was looking for. I actually showed the example where I was in, I took the long, I took the exit, and I have students that actually marked it up before I even shared all that stuff. They have it marked out saying, this is what I think is going to happen. Boom, boom, boom. And they see it. They know what they're looking for. So that means they understand what I've taught them. But then we see all these other people out there that supposedly are market professionals, talking heads. They're on CNBC and all these other people. Oh, what's going on? They're talking about how this was one of the greatest days for the S&P. What? Look, okay. I understand they have to sell this stuff to keep people wanting to invest because it's a buyer's market. Okay. I understand that. But we don't look at things like that. Like I don't want to go out and try to pick a bottom. Okay. I'm not going to go out there and say, yeah, the bottom's in. I'm not convinced of that just because we had this happen today. All I see is the market go up into a daily fair value gap. All I see is normal business model where relative equal lows on a daily chart after the market's been going down for a long time. We've gone down about 50% of what the previous bull run has been. 50%. It's reasonable to see something like this happen. And it's also reasonable for them to come back and rail against anybody that's been short. Because I believe until I'm proven wrong, and I'm happy to be proven wrong, I don't care. But I really want you to think about this. Okay. And my students that were in my private mentorship know what I'm going to say here because they were hearing about this back before all this shit really started happening. All the things that are about to take place, I've mentioned to you in previous Twitter spaces. And some of you are unnerved and you're scared. Okay. I want you to understand when I talk to you about this, it's not to scare you. I'm not sensationalizing anything. Okay. I want you to understand that the general media isn't going to communicate these things to you until it's already too late. In America, our news is filtered greatly, and you're not going to get the perspective that's really going on in ground zero in these other countries where things are happening. And I've been about 9 to 12 months ahead of everybody in everything. And that's not bragging. I need to be ahead of everyone else because I don't want to fall victim to these types of things. And I had students literally tell me to go fuck myself, that I was insane. Okay, I'm nuts. And they wanted a refund just on the basis of the things I told you that you're seeing happen right the fuck now. And I said, first of all, you're not getting a refund. You just sit back and you watch what's going to happen. Okay. In the meantime, I'm going to go over on Twitter and I'm going to show the whole world that are outside here what you've been experiencing. But you get caught up in me talking about things that are outside the marketplace because it hasn't happened in your neck of the woods yet. You're this and you're that. No, man, just take a look around. I would love to be wrong. I want to be wrong for the sake of my own family and friends. The stress this is going to bring on them. I hope I am wrong. But look around, man. Things are going to get really, really hard. I sat down and I sat down with the Lord. And okay, and I know some of you don't believe in this. Okay, some of you believe in Allah, some of you believe in other things that in other religions. Okay, I'm not going to knock your religion. I'm not going to say anything about you. I'm not going to tweet to you and say, you don't know the real Lord or you don't know the real Creator. So please don't do that to me. Okay, because I'm not going to listen to you. And what's going to happen is I'm going to mute you. I won't delete you, but I'm going to mute you because that's offensive to me, and I'm not trying to be offensive to anyone else. But this is what I did. Okay, I sat down. I said, Lord, how can I be used to be as much help as I possibly can to other people? Because I know what's coming. I knew in 2010. When I stepped out on Baby Pips, I wanted to let the cat out of the bag then, but I was afraid to talk about it. And I ain't ashamed to tell you that. I was afraid to talk about it. Not because people would laugh at me, because you can see I don't, I don't care about that shit. But I was afraid if I talked about it, what might happen. And I have old friends that like to visit once in a while, and they talk to me and tell me there's certain things I shouldn't talk about, and I don't. But I tried to be a little bit cryptic, and people that have been watching me over the years, they have been really close many times to where I was pointing until we got to around the 2016 election. At that point, it was like I needed to talk about it. And I said everything. I said Trump would be elected. Everybody laughed. I said they're going to use him as a fall guy. It's happening. And he's part of it all too. So I know that probably throws you into a different category because some of you are like, yeah, he's a Trumper. I'm not a Trumper. I didn't vote for anybody. And it's just, they're all part of the same thing. It's all theater. Okay. But the things that are coming, I talked about all the central bank digital currencies. Okay. And they have to create this reason for it. Okay. Because most people don't even understand what that is, number one. And That's the reason why the whole crypto thing was invented. They let you all champion the idea of, oh, we're going to beat fiat currency. Bitcoin is now the equivalent of fiat. And I know this blew your fucking minds and you all want to kill me and pitchforks and shit's going to be on Twitter feed because of it. Just settle down and listen to me, okay? The whole blockchain was started for the very purpose of central bank digital currencies. Not for Bitcoin champions, not for heroes that are trying to be mavericks out there and beat fiat. Listen, folks, remember Gaddafi? Remember how he wanted to start his own currency? He wanted to do his own thing that was gold backed. What happened to him? Mm-hmm. And they didn't hide it. They televised that. These banks, you cannot beat them. Okay. Everybody out there with the militia mindset, oh, we need a 1776, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. You're not doing shit. You're not doing shit. You can't beat it. Okay. So the only thing you can do is try to align yourself with what they're doing. Now, that poses a great deal of a moral dilemma for those folks out there that have a sense of humanity. Yes, the very concept of what central banking is very, very evil. But when I was a younger man and I was introduced to all this, I wasn't wanting to be a part of it at all. Like I wanted to stop trading altogether because once I discovered what is really going on behind the scenes, I did not want to be part of that at all. Lots of money offered, lots of doing this and lots of doing that. And no, it's a club that you don't really want to be a part of. And a lot of you young guys and gals would have signed up immediately. I'm only on this rock spinning through space for a few decades or so. If I'm lucky, if I'm going to be 100, I don't think I will be, but I don't think this is all there is. And in this world, when I was a younger man, I did things that I wasn't proud of and still not proud of. I can't change that. The only thing I can do is apologize and ask for forgiveness. And I believe my faith gives me that. But I asked the Lord, I said, what can I do to be an instrument to be used that way? Number one, people can see the real me. Because there are a lot of things out there that are said about me. They're all done from a competitive standpoint. Because if you don't watch me, then you won't stay long enough to find out what really works in these marketplaces. And if you don't see that, you'll fall victim to whatever they're trying to sell or get your attention and get your money. I made millions of dollars selling my material, my teaching, my mentorship. Okay. And I have a group of people that are in a private group that are waiting for me to return when I'm done doing this core content. And I am coming back home. I'm going back to private when I'm done. I will not be tickling your Twitter. I'm going back to my private forum. And that's where I'm going to be. Now I'll do videos on YouTube, but I asked in prayer, I said, yeah, how can I do this? And he gave me basically the inspiration to do what I've done all this year. Now, there's a few times I was wanting to do things from the man, the Michael, the humanity in me, the guy that gets mad, the guy that gets angry, the guy that wants a little, hair of the dog to bit him. And I was just told, just keep doing what you're doing. So I just stuck to what I was doing. I have shown you something that even my private mentorship wasn't given. And I showed you from my heart, because it was exactly what I designed for my daughter. Many of you are seeing people all around the world making real money with that. So if there's ever been a doubt whether what I teach or what I know, am I really that accurate? Can I really talk about where the market's going to be going forward? Am I doing both sides of the marketplace, up or down? And then I'm picking the right. You all seen it now. You all tasted it. So I believe that I have done what I set out to do last year. Where I told you, just sit back and watch what I do. I'm going to give you a means of making money. It won't cost you anything. I'll make it as easy as I humanly possibly can do it. There really is no other way simpler. If you're going to be using anything algorithmic, if you're going to be doing anything with how these markets book, that 2022 mentorship model is it. There isn't going to be somebody out there that's saying, here's a 5-minute version of the ICT. Fuck all that. Okay. There's a couple guys out there trying to run their channels like this. Okay. And I get it. There's an audience. They want that fast buck. They want that fast, give me a real quick, short little 5-minute trainer. Fuck all that. You're never going to do that. You're never going to understand what you're doing. So you're getting your clicks and you're getting your little ad revenue on that shit. But they're going to tell you later on, this shit didn't work. I'm going over here where I get the real juice. And I'm not taking the videos off of YouTube. They're there so that way people that try to sell my shit or rename it or whatever, they're going to see, oh, this is where it really came from. And my last video for mentorship will be a sit down face to face. You'll see me. And I'm going to explain why I did it. And I'm going to explain why I insist on having credit, because it's not about ego. And you'll hear right from my own mouth, right from my own face, and there is no filters. You're going to understand why I live my life the way I do. And I'm human, and sometimes I cuss like a sailor. And I wish I could change that about myself. I wish I could do that 24/7. You know, when I'm praising the Lord, it's interesting how I don't reach for those words. He tames the tongue in those moments. But when I'm not talking about him, it's very easy for me to reach for the colorful language. So I'm not preaching to you. I'm not trying to bring you to church or anything, but I'm just pulling the veil back and letting you know there's a lot of things that go on that you don't really fully understand that I contend with. And I'm many times convicted. Every single time I do one of these where I'm talking to you live, I'm immediately convicted. I'm immediately asking for forgiveness because I'm not being a good role model for you. But I use these instances to discharge. It's a confessional. It's a way for me to vent. And I got to be honest with you. Some of these are not liked by a lot of you because you don't find any real value. And most of the time, you know, it's just entertainment for the other folks. Like, I love Ratchet ICT. It's not, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be, but it's unfortunate that I have to manage these feelings, these emotions, these chemicals, and I let them burn off. And once it happens, it gives me the ability to be around my family and to be around myself and not have 1,000 things rushing to the front of my mind. And it feels like that. It feels like there's 1,000 things that needs my attention right now. And all of them are life like threatening. They're all emergencies when they're not. Not one of them is an emergency, but that's what it feels like living with this. And it's hard to articulate that. It's hard to make it understandable for someone that doesn't have it. And I know when I see someone else living with it, and I deal with them differently. I deal with them differently because I know they can't control it. Once I rev up, whether it be the good side or the bad side, no one's talking me down. And that's why I get offended when someone says in tweets like, hey, look, take it easy. Don't worry about them. When you start mothering me, okay, or playing my father, I get offended by that. And that just makes it worse. So those individuals I usually mute. You don't know if I've done that. you keep seeing all my tweets, but I don't want them to do that again because I'll respond to them. I'll remember their name. I'll say, look, hey, and I've done this already before. And I've broomed people off my Twitter. And who cares, right? Big deal. ICT got caught up in his fields and he blocked me. If I don't do that, I'm going to say things that aren't going to be really edifying as a mentor to that person, where I could just simply say, hey, look, if I was more balanced at that moment, I could say, hey, maybe you should look at it like this or do something like that. But most of the time, sometimes I get triggered, and once it starts revving up, I can't be the right kind of mentor for anyone. And for the last 2 weeks, that's how it's been. Like, it's been really, really hard for me to keep things in check because of all the things that's going on. And I'm thankful that my wife's going to be able to get this house, and that way, happy wife, happy life. But these instances are going to creep into your own trading too. Maybe you don't have bipolarism. Maybe you don't have that issue. But everybody has a bad day once in a while. And I don't care how healthy you are, your job, you may love it. You may be making, a high salary. They give you great benefits, and you're interested in never really leaving it because you love your job. It's your profession. I got students that are like that. They have no interest. I don't care how much they make. I think that'll change when they get really up there in returns. But they say that I don't want to leave my job. I'm going to stay with this, and I'm happy with what I'm doing. Those individuals still have bad days. If you're married or if you have a relationship, let me tell you something. You're going to have a bad day. Your other partner is going to see to it. That's just a fact of life. It's going to happen like that. And when it happens, you need to make a real careful decision on whether you're going to be entering the marketplace on that day or not. I'm going to humbly submit to you that you probably should take the day off. I don't care how good the chart looks. If you're in a situation that you feel a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, or if you're just pent up hostility, like I have that, I feel a lot better now that I've talked about it because it's different. It's different talking to someone outside of my wife, who is my partner. She's, part of this corporation that's our marriage. Okay. We have a relationship that we have to build each other up and strengthen each other and be there for each other. And we have had a division in our relationship since this started because I'm doing everything I can to acquire this property for her. And she is trying to do everything she can not to pester me about every little thing she's feeling every single day. So imagine that. Like, it's very hard to manage all these things. And you're going to have that same problem. It's going to creep in. And when you have that instance where you're out of sorts, okay, you're not dialed in because you have something going on. It may be something as, like you have a child and they're sick or they're getting in trouble. Maybe they're entering a troublesome time in their development as a child, and they're trying to find themselves. That's stressful, and maybe you're going through an illness. Maybe you discovered something about yourself and your health that is now scary. I've often thought about, all of you and what types of circumstances that would creep into your life. And there's a whole slew of things that could come up. And what might not be a big deal to you may be something earth shattering to someone else. But if you're on that precipice where all it takes is a small little nudge by somebody, and you're going to lose your shit. You're going to lose your mind. You're going to go off, and you're not going to be able to contain your emotions. If you feel that way, like if you feel that, the worst thing you can do is go into the marketplace. It never turns out well. It never, never turns out well. And I went in this morning with that mindset. Like, I wanted somebody's ass. Like, I wanted to tear up something bad. And then I was going to peacock it all over social media because I wanted a war. I wanted it. It was an outlet. So Now, because there's closure to this, I feel much more balanced because I've talked to you, because you're all part of the family here. You're part of this ICT clique and the cult of winning. You are the closest individuals that's going to understand what I'm saying about this than anyone else. See, you know what it feels like to be inspired or lured into the marketplace based on these little lines on this chart. You know what it feels like to feel like it's telling you to get in there and do something. And you know what it feels like when you're right. And you know what it feels like when you're wrong. My wife doesn't know that. She doesn't understand that at all. So she's happy now. And I'm happy because I've been able to explain what I've been wrestling with the last 2 weeks. It's been since really the first week of September. And it just progressively got worse because we were supposed to close on next Monday for the house. And while that could really, I guess, still happen, the sellers were not able to move their things out because of all this other stuff. And they couldn't, they couldn't sell the house on the Monday that's coming because the Liz Pendants was on the house still. So I gave them an extension until next Friday and let them get their last bit of things out, and then it's done. Because I know that's happening and because I know there's closure, I'm able to, I guess, talk to you all, I guess, the way I'm doing it now. And maybe it's not interesting to you. I really don't care. These types of things are very therapeutic for me. And maybe it's something that's helpful to some of you. Maybe you get something out of this. Maybe you feel like you can connect with me as your mentor better because you maybe experience these types of things. Maybe not to the degree like I explain. Maybe it's a little bit less in terms of intensity, but all of us are human. We're all going to have these problems. We're all going to have these issues that creep in. And you're going to have to make a decision. Do you really want to bring yourself misery if you do it wrong? See, you're not going to see it like that at the time. And it's going to take a great deal of self-control to say no. You're not going to be able to do it many times. You're going to just fall victim to yourself. You're going to go in there and start clicking buttons and pushing buttons. And the worst thing that can happen is well, I guess now it just dawned on me. That guy Corbs is over there across the pond. Okay, he's globetrotting, bouncing around over there, and I don't know where he's at, to be honest with you. But where he's at, his internet service sucks. But I think what he's feeling is there is a disconnect between him and his audience. And because he's working very hard to try to grow his channel and his community, I think that he feels that separation anxiety, knowing that, he's used to having that live interaction. That continuity's now been disrupted for reasons outside of his control. Now, put yourself in his shoes for a moment, okay, and understand and think about what he's been very honest about in the last two videos. He says, I'm having a hard time doing this and having a hard time doing that. And I know I should be taking something in these trades when I'm down, but I won't. So what I think he's doing is he's trying to feel good about something else he's able to conquer. So he wants to be able to find a connection to do his live streams. But because he's being prevented, the male in him, the caveman, wow, there's a deer right by my truck. I'm in a parking lot at the hospital right up the street from where my home is. And there is a big old doe. And I'm not a hunter, guys, but she's literally walking right next to the truck. Wow. Look at you, girl. Oh. She's looking at me now. I'm wondering if I could take a picture while we're still talking here. Hold on one second. Yeah, she don't give a shit about me. I took a couple pictures. I'll share it when I. Oh, wait, there's another one. What the hell's going on? That's the second deer coming in here. We're in a parking lot of a hospital, and they're just rolling around. Anyway, let me get back to this corpse things and close this circus act. So Corpse has this desire to do his live streams, but he's unable to do so. So now he can't fix that. He can't do it. He wants to do it, but he can't. It's outside of his control. It's outside of his hands. But the man in him, the caveman, is saying to himself, let's go out there with our club and bonk the market over the head and take a victory and feel good about that. Because I can't do live streams. I'm going to go out there and feel good because I've conquered the market and I'll compensate for myself that way. That's what I personally believe he's experiencing. And if he's listening, it'd be interesting for him to either say, no, that's not happening, ICT, or if it is, like, yeah, that's it. Or maybe he didn't know. Now he's, you know, able to think about it like this. But I'm quite certain if I was in his situation, those are the very things I'd be trying to do. Because I can't make that man take that list pendants off. He had to be paid for or had to be bought out by the seller to do that. That was the whole reason why I did it. Nothing was going to tell him to take it off until he got to court and then lose and then pay damages. And he wasn't going to do that either. But he knew us waiting as long as it may take to get to that point. You know, that we're going to make a move before that. You know, $2 million in property in a high of the market like it is. You know, the seller's going to make a move, and he did. So Corbs is probably doing very much like what I'm outlining here. He's doing things impulsively, and then that takes him out of his focus. Instead of saying, this is what I do, this is what I'm supposed to do, and this is the methodology I should be following, he even reported that in his discussion about himself. He knew in the trades, I should be doing this, but he won't do it. Why? Because he is being denied something that he wants to do with his community. He wants to be able to do something that he's been doing daily ish, as he says, except for Fridays, but he can't do it. Not because he can't do it. He can't do it because he's being denied from an outside source, which is the internet provider where he's at. So that sense of what? Frustration, that denial of something that would be reasonable to expect and something he's used to doing, he can't do it. So what is it doing? It's taking him out of his mental focus, his rule-based idea of what he should be doing, how to keep himself disciplined, and what it is that he should be doing when he's in a trade. That's what I find fascinating about him, because he's like a test tube for everybody to see. And it's beneficial for you. Who cares if he doesn't trade like us? That's not the point. Have I ever looked at him and said, look what he's doing wrong there? I haven't done that, and I don't want to do that. I have no intentions of doing that. I'm not trying to press on him to learn to be like us. And I saw some of you commenting, learn from ICT. Don't do that, please. You're going to embarrass me. That's not what I'm doing. Okay. I believe he is a great resource for studying the psychology of a trader. It matters not to me if he makes money or not. The fact that he's willing to spend the time that he does and then expressing his experiences, he's not holding it back. And I think that is a breath of fresh air for people that are learning how to do this if you watch and listen to what he's saying, you're going to resonate with that, especially if you're trading before you're supposed to. Okay. I think that you will resonate with what he explains that he feels as a mental barrier and some of the things that he feels good about what he does, but mostly the struggles of finding yourself, especially in this type of volatility, because the volatility will make you fall in love with the potential of making a lot of money. Yeah, it's there. It's there every day. But this volatility is creating romances in many people's minds. And they're thinking, man, and I fell victim to it almost today. ICT almost got wrapped up in some love triangle shit. Okay. Michael, Missy, and the S&P. And I got news for you guys. My wife ain't sharing our relationship. Okay. There's no menage a trois with my wife. Okay. It's not going to happen. But that type of thing where men get wrapped up with their routine, if they get taken out of it, it takes us completely off our focus. And I think that's really what's going on with Corbs. And maybe that makes sense to you now. Maybe it makes sense to what happens in your own trading, in your own analysis. How do you feel when your normal routine is disrupted? Okay. Um, do you have unexpected guests? Okay. I have a student that opened their home up to a in-law. Okay. And he admittedly did not want them staying with them, but trying to be the good spouse, trying to be the one that, you know, I guess tries to do whatever to keep peace in the house, said, okay, they can stay here. And it's caused a nightmare for his routine as a husband, a father, an employee at the place where he works, and then come home and he's got to learn how to trade, and then he has to find time to trade. And this individual in the house, they're leaving things out when normally that doesn't go on in their house. These types of things is completely taking him out of focus. And he goes, does this sound like I'm being overbearing or frivolous? I was like, no. First of all, I wouldn't let anybody live with me. Okay. Number two, yes, I would be out of my mind. Like, I'm a person, everything has to have its own place. And if it's out of place, I'm going to know. And if it's disruptive, you need to sit down and say, hey, look, this is the way I need you to conduct yourself here. Because not only is it disruptive to me in my thought process, but once I'm out of whack, okay, and I'm not able to focus and I'm risking money. And I can't have you messing with my fucking money. Okay, that's just the way you got to say it. And get your permission from me that you can say the F word. But you got to find your own solutions. And you got to find your own rhyme and reason as to how you find continuity in your own life. Because if you don't have continuity, if you don't have the means of adjusting and adapting to what's going on, it's going to take you out of your focus. And you'll have these same types of things that Corbs has been talking about in his last two videos. And I think that's such a great teaching tool. It's such a great, foundation to trader psychology, because that's rarely tapped into. Rarely is that ever really brought up as a means of undoing oneself in the marketplace. Because I had done that to myself when I was in my 20s. I did not understand the impact of something as simple as I'm not able to do what I'm supposed to do normally. So what am I going to do? I'm going to look for a feel-good victory. I want a Rocky moment. Well, if you remember in Rocky 1, uh, Apollo fucked him up. He didn't win. He got fucked up. So yeah, he survived, but he didn't get no championship. He got his ass whooped. So just remember, that's what it's going to most likely feel like. You're going to get in there and you might do a good job of slugging it out, but you're going home fucked up. So you got to stay focused. You got to stay focused, understand why you're doing it, and don't get taken out of focus. And if it's your routine, it's all out of whack, something's bringing, inconsistency and disrupting your continuity in your everyday life, That right there is a warning sign. Do not go in if you feel like you want to get, revenge, or you want to feel good moment. You want to feel like an attaboy or attagal, like you did something great. Don't look to the market for that feel good moment. Don't ever look to the market like that. Now, if you do something and you feel good, there's nothing wrong about that. But don't use that as your inspiration for going in and trading. Because if you do that, what's going to happen is, and I'm closing on this point, you're going to trade more times than you're supposed to or should. You're going to use more leverage, and chances are you're not going to use a stop loss effectively or at all, because you're going in with a one-sided perspective that it's only going to work out in your favor, because you need it to, psychologically and emotionally. You need that victory, and you cannot envision anything but that. Now, what did you just do? You created the invitation, VIP invitation, to that brokerage firm, sending your ass home with a blown account, because that's exactly what that recipe brings you in stunning fashion. I've done that when I was 20 years old. Everything, everything that I did in those instances resulted in a losing trade, and it would be a bigger trade with more leverage and no stop loss. And in soybeans, closed me out. That was it. Wrapped up. Run up and done up. And that's what's going to happen to any of you if you don't listen, because you're not thinking clearly and you're doing all the wrong things. But it's not going to feel like that, because in your mind, all I need is this feel good moment. No, 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 no. Stop. Stop that. It's bullshit. You know you're bullshitting yourself. Nobody's there to tell you this. I'm telling you right now. You're full of shit, because if you get away with it, then you're going to do it again. And then what's going to happen is going to burn your ass at a later time. So the worst thing that can happen is if you win. If you make money in that instance, that's the worst toxic thing you could have done to yourself, because you'll make that mistake again. And you don't want to make that mistake. So I'm telling you, don't look at the market like that. Don't come home pissed off because your boss maybe leaned on you, okay, or denied a vacation, or gave a promotion to somebody else, and you've been working hard and you deserve it, okay, or you just don't like where you're at. You're pissed off. You came home in traffic. Somebody, you know, bumped in your car. You had an accident or something. Now you need to do what? You need to feel rewarded for putting up with all the bullshit of everyday life. And you're going to treat the market like the lottery, because you deserve the win today. Well, you don't deserve the win. Nobody deserves the win. You earn that. Okay. There's no deserving shit. Okay. You earn it. But you cannot earn it consistently if you're doing dumb shit. And dumb shit's going to be a result of you going in looking for a feel good moment while your personal life is in disarray. And it may not even be that big of a deal, but in our minds, you know, your spouse did something stupid. Now, I'm going to tell you, this is one thing that's going to be looked at by you all like, really? That's a big fucking deal, this guy? I have a lot of books. And my books, sometimes, if I'm reading them, I'll place them down and I'll walk away from them. And they have to be exactly how I left them. If someone's moved them, my mind's going to be thinking, okay, they opened them up and the page I have with a marker on them is then been moved. Because my youngest son, he's a touchy feely kind of guy. He's wanting to touch everything, move things around, look at shit, and I love him to death, but I can't, my mind won't let me do that. So that one little thing, if that happens before I get into the PM session, because I homeschool, that's going to be in my mind. Like, shit, he moved my placeholder. Now I got to go through and find, like, that's all it takes for me. That's all it takes for me. So it's a real hard thing living with ICT. Living with ICT would be a crazy ass sitcom. Like, it would be nuts. You would really understand how hard it is for me to manage. Like, you ever seen Howie Mandel? He does a really good job of hiding his mental illness. But when he's open about what he lives with, like it brings me to tears all the time because I know what that feels like. Like I know what it feels like to live with this. And to be able to sit down and separate everything else that's going on in the world in my own personal life. And the only thing that matters is these candlesticks. What is price doing right now in this time interval? Where is price at? How can I implement what I know? What's the algorithm going to do next? And I have no correlation to why I'm doing something as a reason for feeling good about what's happened in my life. That's a wrestling match all the time. And it's every day. It's an everyday instance. So when I'm done and I've been given a really, well, I guess positive outcome, I'm thankful to the Lord. I always give thanks to Him. And even when I lose, I'm thankful that's all I lost. Okay. I do lose once in a while, and you'll see it, and I'll show it to you. But when it happens, I'm thankful that I don't lose as much as I could have on days like today. Like today, I could have been in there doing a lot of things to run up the account. But let's just say that trade that I was long in, that I left that limit order in and I would have never been filled. And I second guessed it just for a second because I was talking to my son. Because many times I have to tell Caleb, listen, don't talk. Just listen to dad. I'm going to give you the dialogue because if you ask me any questions right at this moment, it's going to distract me and I won't be able to focus. And if I lose money, then I'm going to be angry. So that way, I won't have any reason for feeling angry at you or the instance of you asking a question. I want you to know what your question is going to be asking. Like I want that answer given to you, but just let dad do what he's doing and let me finish what I'm doing. And then I'll give you the time to any questions, anything you want to ask me, then yes. But if you ask me a question when the market's moving, that's going to completely take me out of focus. And that's one of the things that was very hard for a lot of my students when I was doing the first year mentorship and I was trying to sit down with them at Price and I was outlining what it's going to be like for them to sit in front of Price and what they're going to be feeling, what this looks like, and kind of like pantomiming the students sitting down in front of charts and this is what you should expect. This is what you're going to be feeling. Then I got 865 people asking me, you know, what about this? And why'd you let this happen? You didn't buy here. Why did this happen? Is this an order block? What's this? And I felt like I needed to answer every single one of them, but I couldn't. And it was just like, I'm like a deer in headlights. And I'm caring more about their questions that I can't answer versus watching price. And it was a nightmare. I will never open myself up to that again because it's just, I can't focus. I cannot focus. Contrast that with what you see me doing with a live account. You can see my entries. You can see how I'm managing the position. Like clearly these things work. I know how to trade, but I cannot trade if I have someone in my ear constantly, hey, what about this? And what about that? Why didn't you do this? Can this be looked at? Can you trade this? What about gold? I'm looking at the S&P or I'm looking at, Forex. And these folks come up to me all the time. Hey, what about gold? Or what about dollar yen? Man, don't talk to me about the fucking yen. I don't want to hear about yen. I can't fucking stand yen. Okay. It's so heavily manipulated. I don't like it. I can't stand it. So you're going to find all these little things in your development that set you off. These little quirky ass shit that just takes you completely out of your focus. And you'll probably have those experiences that Corb's is explaining in his dialogues, saying that, hey, look, this is the way it is. I'm having a struggle with this. And the best thing you can do is be honest like him. Be honest with yourself. And I want to ask him, in his comments probably tonight before I go to bed. I'll go to his channel and post a comment on this most recent one and ask him if he journals. I don't think he's been asked that. If he has, I don't know if he's answered if he does or doesn't. But I think it would be interesting to see if he journals. And if he journals, does he record what it is that he feels and how he reacts to all those things. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with what he does with himself with a journal, whether he uses a journal or not. It'd be interesting to know. But I think this is going to close this one. Kind of talk myself to a point where I'm ready to go home and stretch out, grab a shower. I spent probably a little bit more time talking than I should have tonight. But I got a lot of things off my chest. Maybe this was entertaining to you. Maybe you found something insightful from the discussion. If not, I apologize. I didn't mean to waste any of your time, but I think that if you found something in this, I think it'll be helpful to you going forward. And I'm sure I'll be tickling your Twitter tomorrow. Big news tomorrow in 8:30 and 10 o'clock. So just be mindful of that volatility. And I think that is going to be it for this one tonight. So until I talk to you next time, be safe.